Everyone, it's the early hours of the 22nd of April 2025. I'm Gary Waterman, a former UK police constable. And since 2022, I've acquired irrefutable evidence of decades-long international government fraud. Welcome to part 2 of my evidential research document in relation to the helicopter crash in America on the 10th of April that we are led to believe killed a CEO of Siemens. And we're just going to summarise quickly part 1 of this document that I've shown, and it's pretty incredible how this has worked out, because what I initially did prior to the crash happening, I had researched, you can see here, 10th of April 2025, one of my wife's best friends called Leanne Hawksworth, previous name Leanne Witcher, who works for Siemens in Bournemouth, and had already linked Siemens to the international government fraud and to directed energy. Now, this is all now tying in with the Hadron Colliders and a potential doomsday scenario facing the planet. And we're going to look through this document and see how it ties in. But back then, I'd shown the evidence linking into this, showing some research in relation to Leanne, and then how it tied in, Siemens tied in with the threat of directed energy, and then how I suddenly had a video popping up the very next day or the day after from somebody who was a helicopter, hugely involved in helicopters, but also involved in football, trying to show mechanically how that helicopter crash was an accident. They are significantly linked to the international fraud. Not only that, but exactly the same companies that I'd been identifying. Here is the gentleman, Dave Fishwick. Okay, so he's the one that had done the video that popped up on my TikTok by chance after I was trying to say it was staged, and it was trying to convince me that it was an accident. Anyway, we then showed irrefutable evidence linking Dave Fishwick into the international government fraud, exactly the same companies, via, there was a JMW Solicitors, and it then tied in with the research that I'd done previously. It all overlaps very, very quickly. Remember, there's over 5 million registered companies, and it all overlaps incredibly quickly, showing the centralized criminal system that they have in place by a very small number of people on the scale of things. And it led in part 1 to the evidence surrounding Tommy Robinson, and linking in with where's it gone? Into a Satanic Temple United Kingdom company that had already been researched by exactly the same name. So we're now going to move forward. Please verify and corroborate as much of this as you can. So JMW Solicitors on the left, via Peter Orlick on the left, links to the British Serbian Chamber of Commerce. So we now have a very quick link to Serbia, okay, and the Chamber of Commerce within Serbia. They also link to Reed Smith LLP, which is a solicitors that features significantly at key points. I haven't shown it here. On the right, back into JMW Solicitors, Adam Taylor links to CKFT Hampstead LLP. Now, I found this very interesting. Remember, Hampstead is where the Hampstead child abuse inquiry took place. 2 children making very serious claims against their father, Ricky Dearman, of sexual abuse in their school and church by multiple adults, and also being forced to take part in the murder of babies. On the incorporation document for this company, it immediately links to a company linked throughout the fraud and the child trafficking links, Stanley Davis Group Limited. Within the same company on the left, Graham Kay links to 28 Track Residential Limited, but he's part of 16 companies. And there we go. We have a link to the very same company that had featured again in the Satanic Temple United Kingdom research, the Invicta Film Partnership. And you can see it dissolved in May 2023 as I'm exposing the fraud. Where's it gone? 10th of May 2023, as I'm exposing the fraud, it dissolves, and you can see in the Satanic Temple, the Invicta Film Partnership, okay, and they're all linked, but they're creating different shell companies. So this one's number 27. I don't know if it's the same one, actually. And that one's 43. But they're all linked, all part of the same network or group of companies. And then that then connected in, very importantly, to Owens Film Partnership with Betts Names and Owens. Remember, Owens and Porter were the managing agents for Exmoor Manor when I was removed. And Diana Betts was one of the directors trying to remove me. And I've just shared a video of some clips from that meeting. So I suspect they are related to the family. Within the Fusiliers company that we were looking at in part 1, you can see that here's a previous lieutenant within that company. No surprise, because obviously it's a military company. But they resigned on the 1st of June 2022 as I was making inquiries within Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, a month before I approached Anthony Roberts to look at the bank documents leading to his resignation. And he'd been a director since 2008. And he's linked to the Bury Masonic Association Limited. Remember, there's Masonic companies all the way through the fraud. It's very clear that they are appearing to run the system of fraud, linking into the international child trafficking. Within JMW Solicitors on the left, Keith Arrowsmith links to the Independent Safeguarding Office. I thought that was quite ironic. Remember, they love to invert things. So whenever you see, for example, Save the Children, they're now being investigated for international child trafficking. And the Freemasons appear to invert many, many things. I haven't highlighted these, but I just found these interesting. King's Active Foundation, because the royal family and the king is heavily implicated in this. And also Supermarket Income Investments. All supermarkets are involved in this international government fraud. Pretty much all of them are criminal organisations. And of course, this means there's no accountability and liability, so they can poison our food if that's what they see fit to do. All crime. Now, here's a bit of research in relation to the helicopter that went down. And I literally put, what was the helicopter company in relation to that helicopter crash, and it mentions New York helicopters. You can see here, for some reason it says 2015, so I don't know if that was a type and error by them, but New York helicopters. And would you believe it, when you search New York helicopters on Companies House on the left in Google, it comes up with Pegasus Helicopter Group Limited, of an address of 20 to 22 Wenlock Road. Well, that's the address that links to Companies Made Simple and to Westco Nominees and the removal of a company name from a document, which we'll come to in a minute. But that Pegasus Helicopter previous company name was Pegasus Helicopter Group PLC. And it initially came out in 2008 and changed its name just over a month after the creation of the God particle, supposedly the God particle. Okay, and we're going to talk to that later because that ties in with the Hadron Colliders. So August 2012. Now Pegasus, when you research it, Pegasus spyware, and this has come up before, is a spyware developed by the Israel Cyber Arms Company NSO Group. This has featured previously in the research of the police and military radios connecting into Pegasus, and of course to our mobile phones, because it says here, Pegasus is spyware developed by the Israeli Cyber Arms Company NSO Group that is designed to be covertly and remotely installed on mobile phones running iOS and Android. While NSO Group markets Pegasus as a product for fighting crime and terrorism, governments around the world have routinely used the spyware to surveil journalists, lawyers, political dissidents, and human rights activists. The sale of Pegasus licenses to foreign governments must be approved by the Israeli Ministry of Defense. So our government are complete criminals, everybody. That's a fact now. They've got a criminal, fraudulent system they didn't need to have, okay? But it's removed the accountability and liability, meaning they can literally exploit and victimise billions of people, but also the children through their sinister activities, according to the research. And I think it is very key to a doomsday cult, all right, unfortunately, which we're going to look at a bit more as we go. And I've got another document in relation to it. So Westco Nominees, remember we talked about 20 to 22 to Wenlock Road, just to show on the right here that Wesco Nominees has the same address. It was incorporated in 1994, the same year as the release of the forgotten the name of it, Stargate movie. Okay, now I suspect the Stargate and Portal thing that I was being led towards all ties in with a doomsday cult surrounding the Hadron Collider, and I'll come to that later. And just to confirm, Wesco Nominees, the company name has been removed from the important incorporation document. It's linked to Waterloo, which therefore means it's also closely linked to the Freemasons, because they connect to that company very quickly. Now, that's serious fraud, removing that. And that company links to the World Trade Center disaster, to international child trafficking, it seems. Within the Pegasus company, on the left, so we're within the Pegasus Helicopter Company, SLC Registrars Limited on the left, and we've clicked into that company, and on the right you can see EL Rothschild Limited. Remember, this is coming in from the research of typing in New York helicopters, and now we link to not only Pegasus but also to a Rothschild's company. And he resigned from the company on the very same day that Prince William initiated the Earthshot Prize. Go and research the Earthshot Prize. I might even have a screenshot here, I'm not too sure. And that's exactly the same day that they initiated Earthshot, which then ties in with the very important company of the Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation that I featured throughout my videos. It's also the same month as the outbreak in Wuhan, okay? The supposed outbreak in Wuhan. It's all deception, okay? That's not the real issue in all of this. I believe it's the directed energy from the masts that they're using to potentially remove the population, reduce people's lives, and also control them, but also physically harm them and psychologically harm them, possibly to control everybody whilst they continue their work around the Hadron Colliders in relation to the situation I'm going to be talking about. So within the EL Rothschild Limited, you can see that was, first of all, the address is interesting, Queen Victoria Street. You find that they've specifically named the streets after royals, or they've positioned these key companies in those streets already named. Probably a bit of both. And on the bottom there, it was incorporated on the 4th of September 2002, almost a year to the day after the World Trade Center disaster. That's the L. Rothschilds Limited Company. And within that company, Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, who was born in 1954, which is the same year that the Hadron Collider, or CERN, was implemented. Okay, it's also a year after the Queen was coronated. It's the year after MK Ultra was started. We're going to come into this in more detail in the Hadron Collider evidence, but it's all very relevant. 1954 is the year that the silent weapons of silent quiet wars was declared on humanity, according to the research. And below there you can see she was appointed on the 16th of October 2002, the year after the World Trade Center disaster. Within the company on the left, you can see Travis Smith Secretaries. When we click on them, on the right there, you can see one of their companies is Office Team Group Limited. Well, here's the Satanic Temple document. The research coming in from the Satanic Temple, United Kingdom. And there you can see Office Team Company again. Office Team 2 Group Limited. So they're all part of the same group of companies. And on there, and also the link to, why have I shown that? The portal link. So this is the research of Justin Welby, the previous Archbishop of Canterbury, and he had a previous name. Sorry, he had a record on Company's House. You can see they've put Portal as the middle name on the left, linking into the Auckland project. Now, I was directed to this by people involved in the fraud, I suspect as a distraction from the CERN Hadron Collider, and they were trying to point me to a threat from nuclear weapons via Astra Holdings UK Limited Company, and we're going to come to that a bit later. Now, the crash happened on the 10th of April, helicopter crash supposedly. I released evidence on the 4th of April, shown below, in relation to the Satanic Temple. On that document, it had information here to confirm that Qatar was linked to the international fraud. And here I've just searched, does Qatar invest in Siemens? Remember, we're talking about the supposed death of the CEO of Siemens on this helicopter. And yes, Qatar had invested in Siemens. In 2012, Qatar accumulated a small stake in Siemens. 2012 is the year of the God particle using the Hadron Collider in CERN in Switzerland, according to the research. On the Satanic Temple, the evidence that I released shows that Qatar is linked and that the King and David Beckham was involved in an event in the United Kingdom welcoming him. He visited the UK, I believe. Now, the research surrounding him, might not be able to read it here, but you can search it yourself. Leader of Qatar. He was educated in Sherborne in Dorset. Okay? Sherborne in Dorset. He also has stakes in many UK companies, including supermarkets, and Barclays Bank, and owns a 95% share in the Shard. Okay, the tallest building, I believe, in the United Kingdom, and one of the tallest in Europe, I believe. Well, Harrods links to the satanic fraud via the Qatar Holdings Company. Okay, and also, of course, links to Princess Diana. Now, that was released on that date. All right, so we have a connection to Siemens as well, and then the helicopter happened 6 days later. So, of course, this prompted me, okay, because I've had signs all the way through this, and I am, without question, being guided by our creator in this. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. So remember, I've been researching my wife's friend, Leanne, who works for Siemens in Bournemouth. I already knew she did. The helicopter crash happened. So this, of course, led me to believe I need to look into the connection surrounding Leanne and my wife and see where that leads a bit more. So this is the school that they went to. And I actually was policing Christchurch, where this school is based. Okay, so I started work in Bournemouth. Well, it was in Kent Police, first of all, from 2000. 2006, I moved to Bournemouth and worked for Bournemouth Police. And then I transferred and worked in Christchurch, which was about 7 miles away, in 2010. So here's Twynham Learning, that was incorporated in 2011. And you can see it changed its name in 2015, and it was originally Twynham School. Well, this is where Leanne and Lisa, my wife, and other members some other friends of hers also went to. Now, this company, the school, is criminal. It's fraudulent because the London Law Agency is on its incorporation document. Now, that's linked to the international child trafficking, and that company was set up the year after the foundation of the Church of Satan. In 1966 is when the Church of Satan was founded. In 1967, the London Law Agency was incorporated, and this company is now dissolved, or in the process of dissolving. It might have dissolved now, as I've been exposing it. Interestingly, that's called Twynham School, and it's in Christchurch. Now, when I was researching the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, that was also in a place called Christchurch. So it was confused me, and initially I was thinking, wow, this is unreal. It's the same location. But you can see on the left here, it's not. It's in Hampstead, okay, in London. And you can see they deliberately made it look like an incredible school, okay, not long after I was starting to expose the fraud. And around this time, I'd released the evidence of the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry. And those videos are still on Rumble, okay? They're still on there. But they removed them from everything else. So it got these amazing rewards that you can see in November and December 2023. Well, that is very clearly linked to this international government fraud via Ricky Dearman, the dad who was accused by his children of very serious crimes, including the murder of babies in a school and in a church. Now, on the rapid response evidence, you can see that I mentioned Lisa's uncle. And I'm sorry, to name everybody now, but Adrian Windsor is Lisa's uncle. And I'm going to have to say that, I know this is private, but we're talking about the sake of humanity here. So I was led to believe that Lisa's mother committed suicide when she was younger. And that is Lisa's mum's brother. Okay. On the incorporation document, you can't quite read it on here, but you have Humphreys for a company that he is connected to, the Bermuda Triangle, which is a pub in a place called Ashley Cross in Poole, near Bournemouth. And that is also where Lisa was living with her father, okay, when we first met. And on the incorporation document, it has Humphreys Kirk LLP. So this is Lisa's uncle's pub, okay, that he is one of the owners for. Now back into the Twynham School, where Lisa went to school, Adam Scott on the left links to Humphreys Kirk LLP, exactly the same company. Now when you look at Humphreys Kirk LLP, it has the London Law Agency on its incorporation document, a criminal, fraudulent entity company. In the Humphreys company on the right, we have Justin Martin. Remember, this is coming in from the school. And he's linked to the Somerset Province Masonic Trust Limited. And they're a very old company, incorporated in 1933. The year after the very important company CAPB Limited, which was originally called Ian Fleming Co. Limited, which then ties in with the World Trade Center disaster and changing its name a day either before or after Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center. On the right, within the Humphreys company, Peter North links to Bank and Clients PLC. On the right, we're looking into that. It dissolved very recently, the 4th of April 2025, even though it was incorporated in 1970. You can see below there, the year before the World Economic Forum was started. Look in the address, you can see King Street. Remember what we were saying earlier? So they've dissolved this literally in the last few days. And its previous company names, have a look at this, include Virgin Bank PLC. And if you look at the Virgin Bank Limited company, so the second from the top there that you're looking at, it changed its name from that in January 2012. Now the Higgs boson particle was created in July the 4th, according to the research, 2012. On the incorporation document, the London Law Agency, again. Now, remember, we mentioned Qatar and its leader being connected. So I just want to point that out again. And the link to Harrods. Now, Harrods links immediately to Exborn Manor Freehold Limited via a name on one of its incorporation documents of Mavis June Latter. It's exactly the same name that is on the documents for Swift Incorporations Limited that started Exborn Manor Freehold Limited. Remember, there's over 5 million companies, and it's exactly the same name linking Harrods to Exborn Manor Freehold Limited via Swift Incorporations Limited. And remember, the Qatar leader studied in Sherborne, in Dorset. So why is that important with where we're coming from? Now, remember, we're talking about my wife's life here. I'm having to. This isn't something I want to do, but I'm being left with no choice because it is so relevant in relation to everything. And we must save humanity and save the children. So I have to do this, no matter how personal this is. Well, Lisa's previous employee when we were together was Charles Sherwin and his wife. This is Charles Sherwin. He was a dentist in Sherborne. His wife was an oncologist for Southampton Hospital. Deborah Fleming was the chief executive officer for the NHS for Hampshire and therefore the Southampton Hospital. So let's have a look at this. So you can see here, when you search Charles Sherwin or Sherwin Sherborne, it brings up Brooklyn House Dental Practice. When you search Brooklyn House Dental Practice on Google and put company's house, it comes up with Brooklyn House Practice LLP. And there it is on the left, and here it is on the right. It was incorporated in 2007, the same year that Exborn Manor Freehold Limited was incorporated. And remember, I was introduced to my wife via my sergeant, Benjamin Pope, in 2007, and Jock Condon, who was on the same team as me when I joined Dorset Police, led me or suggested the flat in Exborn Manor. He appears to possibly have been related to Lord Condon, the Chief Metropolitan Officer, Chief of the Metropolitan Police, who is linked to BAE Systems, the largest defence contractor for the United Kingdom, and Group 4 Security. So let's look into this Brooklyn House Practice LLP. And on the left, Peter Pinar connects to Treasure Island Kids Limited Liability Partnership. Treasure Island Kids Limited Liability Partnership. Bearing in mind, we've just been talking about Virgin Bank. Richard Branson was the owner or founder of the Virgin Atlantic Foundation, which, by the way, is now dissolving since I've exposed it. That's huge, everybody. He had an island near Jeffrey Epstein. And you will see the evidence linking Jeffrey Epstein into the Hadron Collider, all tying in with all of this later. So here's Treasury Island Kids Partnership, and it was dissolved in 2016. Now, 2016 is becoming relevant in this because I suspect TikTok is a symbology for the countdown towards whatever it is they're going to be doing. All right. And I think their plan was to create the end of time using a point of singularity and hadron colliders. And we're going to come to more of that later, like I said. So within the Treasure Island Company, Richard Abel on the right connects to Bristol and London PLC. So I'm just going to show some information, and it gets more interesting as we go along here. They're now in liquidation as I'm exposing the fraud. And on the left, you can see they changed their name. First of all, it started in 1998, before the World Trade Center disaster. Changed their name a couple of years afterwards, and they haven't changed their name since. And now they're in liquidation. And look who the director, the same director, is linked to: Owen Film Partnership LLP. Exactly the same company we were looking at on the satanic document, with the Betts name right near it. So Owens and Betts, potentially linking to Stephen Owens of Owens and Porter and Diana Betts through their families, who was a director that was calling the meeting to remove me. And on the left, you can see this company happened to dissolve as I was making early inquiries in Company's House, with Exbourne Manor, and you can see the address field has Turkin Connell, and the research in the Satanic Temple United Kingdom document, which is here, links into very important information on that document. Same director we were looking at, Richard, also links to Bristol and London Accident Management Limited. Now this, remember, is coming in from a dentist linked to a doctor of Southampton Hospital, coming in from the research of them. And this dissolved in May 2022, 2 months before I approached Anthony Roberts, but I had already started making inquiries within the company. It had been incorporated in March 2002, not long after the World Trade Center disaster. Same director that we're looking at now comes into Chambers Independent Financial Advisors. Remember, they've got financial advisors, accountants, solicitors, all wrapped up in this. They're all involved in it. Everybody that's in those organisations, okay, because they believe they've had the protection of the police, they've had the protection of the monarchy, they'd have the protection of the military. It's all one mass international collaborative deception to exploit and victimize humanity and control them through this crime, and also have their wicked way with the children. And this company on the right is in liquidation. I think we'll leave it there. It's been 32 minutes. Come back, please, for part 3.